are joining me on the replay. Hello, replay gang. Listen, I want you to type it in the chat as well. You'll have access to this recording and I'll be checking it. I'll get notified when you post in the comments. And so let me know how long you have been wanting to be a TEDx speaker. Because the truth is, thank you, I see you in the chat. The truth is, whether it's been 5 years like Hollis or just 1 year, the reality of it is that the opportunity is available. It's not available for the select few. The select few get chosen, but it's available for everyone. However, the treat is, and the insider secrets I'm going to share with you today will move you from being part of the crowd to actually being a part of that chosen few. Okay, somebody type in the chat, even on the replay gang, type in the chat, chosen few, chosen few, chosen few. Because listen, this is what Imwali and I, we love to do. We love to not only present you with the information, but also give you the tools that you need for the implementation of your goals, of your dreams, of your desires, because we truly believe that it's not enough to want to do something. It is important for you to get the support to actually do it. So consider yourself part of the team, right? We are your team members who are going to help you to implement, all right? So I'm going to just share my screen, and I want this to be an interactive conversation. So as you have questions, or you feel inspired by what I share, I want you to certainly type it in the chat. I'll be watching those comments and looking forward to actually answering those questions for you. All right. So go ahead and make sure that you are locked and loaded. No distractions. All right. No distractions as I go ahead and bring up the presentation. All right, so by now you should be able to see my screen. And the whole idea of TEDx is helping you to be made for the stage so that you can go from being unknown to being world class, right? Some of us, we've spent our whole careers wanting for someone to really take our ideas seriously, or we are launching off into new ideas and we're like, well, I want exposure for my new business. I want exposure for my thought leadership. But this is it's just not working just posting on social media, right? I need something new. I need something more. And so this is your opportunity. As you are part of our community, the League of Experts, you are being made for the stage. TEDx is just one of them, but there are other stages, whether you are on other people's platforms or you're building your own. The idea of our made for the stage experience in the League of Experts helps you to craft the talks that will get you exposure, such as TEDx. And so I'm excited to share that with you today. So who are we? Of course, you probably recognize that handsome fella. That is Imwale, certainly my better half. And we are the founders of the League of Experts. And many of you know us because we've helped over 1,375 people write and publish best-selling books. We also helped many of those become bestsellers, which is exciting as well. And we've been able to scale our business over 300% during the recent pandemic, not because we're all that great, right? We have been really strategic in helping others be extremely great in what they do. And I say that humbly because we believe that success is not a matter of your success, but it's about your significance in other people's lives, right? Say that, somebody type it in the chat. I am successful because I'm significant. I am successful because I'm significant. And it's why we have created a community such as the League of Experts to really display and highlight everyone's genius, right? Because there are so many of you who have, messages and have ideas that are just filling your head up every night. You go to sleep, many of you with so much on your mind that you weren't able to get out that day. And it's nothing worse than feeling the potential bubbling on the inside of you, but because of your, full-time job, because your, sometimes fear of getting it out there, it stifles you, right? But I want you to know that you are in a safe space. Somebody type in the chat, safe space. You are in a safe space, Hollis, yes, to not just be successful, but to also be significant. And that's what we're doing as your friends, as your guides in the process. We hope to play a significant role in your life as well. And so with that, we have also worked with individuals who are on the same mission, such as the likes of Lisa Nichols, which many of you are familiar with. She has been not only a significant coach, but also someone who's relied on our coaching and expertise to have massive success in her signature programs. Most recently, we've helped her we played a strategic role in helping some of her $1 million events actually sell out. And she has been someone who we enjoy working with, and someone who we partner with over the last 6 years, actually. And you may also be familiar with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. Now, what excites me about this gentleman is that he was commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to write Think and Grow Rich for the African American community. So he is a stalwart in the thought leadership and the professional development space. And he is also a partner of ours as well. You may also be familiar with Susie Carter, who is a coach she has a program where she really specializes in telling people about the best strategies that took her from being a hairdresser to selling a $10 million company, right? And she is a thought leader in our community. And so just wanted you to know sort of the lay of the land, right? Who we play with and why we are so committed to inviting you, right, to this powerful playground of thought leaders and experts. So if you don't feel welcome by now, I want to tell you, welcome home, welcome to our community where you absolutely belong, right? You have a book on the inside of you, many of you, that deserves to be a bestseller, right? To join those who have come before you to write not just one book, not just two books, but multiple best-selling books. That's what we focus on, your best ideas being shared in the world. The book is just one of them, right? We believe that you are absolutely next. You're next to write your book. You're next to land on the TEDx stage. You are absolutely next to take all of your dreams and desires out of your head, okay, and give them out into the world. Because what good is it to show up in the world and no one knows you're there, right? Just want to pause for a minute and really lock in on that. Because I often find that some of the people with the best ideas, the greatest talents, they're the last ones to get noticed. And it's not because they lack the talent, it's because they don't have either the infrastructure in place to show up consistently, or they simply don't have the right next steps to do so, right? Who's been there where you knew that you wanted to do, a digital course, you knew that it would be viable for you to go out and build your consultancy business, but for lack of strategy and lack of direction, you just sat on all the talents and the skills that you had to give to the world. It's painful. It's painful. However, our job, our mission is to help you to relieve some of that pain so that you can absolutely be next to showcase your gifts to the world. So let's dive right into it, right? TEDx is a beautiful platform to do exactly that. Now, what many of you may not know is that TED originally stood for Technology, Education, and Design, right? The idea behind TED is that originally is that individuals who had a unique perspective on those three core areas would be able to share their ideas on an international stage, right? And that is still very much the core value of what this opportunity is. However, they've opened it up so that individuals who may not have a tremendous following on YouTube and who may not have the celebrity behind their name can still leverage the same platform to get exposure, okay? And that's where the X comes in. The X represents an independently organized event where you don't have to be a celebrity, but you can still be a TEDx speaker and leverage their millions and millions of followers and get exposure for your best ideas, right? So as I mentioned, some of you have wanted, because you've messaged me and you're like, I want to be a TEDx speaker, but I absolutely do not know where to start, Chantel. Tell me, where do I start? And I want you to know that you are in the right place, because not only am I going to share with you where to start, but I'm also going to show you exactly what you need to do to implement to actually get on the stage this year. Okay. Others of you may not be in the, I don't know where to start, but you're like, I'm even afraid to start because I don't really think that I'm good enough, right? I don't think that I have, something important to say, even though people keep telling me that I do. I feel a little tingling in my belly when I see other people speaking, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to be good enough for the stage to get accepted, right? You're in this bucket if you start to doubt yourself even before you begin the process, right? Doubt is in the building. It's okay. You don't have to call yourself out, but at some point we all have been there. So I want you to know that you are absolutely not alone. And you're also not alone if you have applied many times. I mentioned earlier, Danielle, she doesn't mind me sharing this, but she had applied over 9 times to be a TEDx speaker. And each time she got rejected. And it's unfortunate because many times when you do apply, you don't even know why they rejected you in the first place, right? So it's one thing to have the desire and move past your fear and actually submit your application, and then only to realize, oh, wow, they don't want me, and not know why, right? So my job here today is to help you to understand what qualifies you and what's going to take your application over the finish line, okay? Not guaranteeing that you will get a spot on the stage, but I am sharing with you the best practices that will get you to where we've helped over 50 people get to, which is on the TEDx platform, right? So TEDx is beautiful because it's an opportunity to get your business. Every day, millions and millions of people, they subscribe to TEDx. So this is the beauty, Hollis, of leveraging someone else's audience, okay, to build yours up. It's leverage. So even if you don't have, a tremendous audience right now, no one's liking your reels, no one's clicking on, the hearts on Instagram, it doesn't matter. I know because you're here and you're part of this community that you are giving value. So even if you don't see it in the clicks and in the likes, you got something important to say. Just gonna clear that up right now. And so even while you are building up that reputation and credibility, why not give yourself some gasoline to your passion and actually use TEDx's audience, right? To get that validation and that credibility that's needed to now build up your platform, okay? That is the beauty of this experience. You get exposed to over 36 million people on their YouTube page alone, all right? That is leverage. Somebody type in the chat, that is leverage. So you may have 1 subscriber on your YouTube channel, but the minute you become a TEDx speaker, you now expose your message to over 36 million people. That is leverage. And these people aren't just coming from one country. No, they are all over the world. Over 150 countries are exposed to TEDx talks. How exciting is that, right? In fact, not only do they have a global appeal, but there are over 3,000 events happening every single year. And when I say events, I mean 3,000 opportunities for TEDx speakers to share their ideas. Okay? So now we just dispel one big myth is, oh, it's super selective. Yes, it is. But if you cast your net wide, right? Somebody say, cast your net wide. You cast your net wide, you will pull up some fish. But you just got to cast it wide. So applying 9 times to a TEDx platform may seem like a lot, right? But guess what? If there are 3,000 opportunities around the world and you've only applied to 1 or 9, come on. You probably haven't cast your net wide enough. And so if this is really important to you, I want you to know that you can absolutely do it. And there are opportunities out there. Yes, cast your net wide. I see you in the chat. And why is this important? Because when you become a TEDx speaker, you're not just doing it for that moment. Our opportunity here is to help you to see that you can translate that moment into a movement. You can move your business, you can move your audience, you can move your credibility, you can move your testimonials, you can move so many pieces of your business by just giving one talk. Okay, for example, on average, you can get 200 to 500 leads for your business. Now, you won't hear other platforms talking about TEDx in this way because TEDx is, nonpartisan, you can't promote your business, etc. But remember, I'm here to give you some insider secrets, all right? So don't go and take these secrets outside of the league of experts and say, oh, Molly and Chantel told me this. Listen, this is between us, right? This is between us. Because you will have the opportunity to get over 200 to 500 leads in your business, okay? There are ways to do that without you violating the terms and conditions of TEDx. In addition, you can use this as a 180 approach to sell your products, your services, and your programs. You can also establish JV partnerships and brand yourself as an authority. As I mentioned, this is a very elite opportunity. So just like if you went to a university, I went to Cambridge University, and you begin to network with other people, right, who come from that university, the reason why you can reach out to them in a dignified way, it's not because you're some random person trying to network on LinkedIn. No, it's because you guys have the commonality of having been a student at Cambridge University, right? So similarly, TEDx gives you that credibility stamp where if you wanted to reach out to someone to be a promotional partner for your products or services, instead of just randomly saying, hey, saw you online, I'd like to connect with you about this opportunity. No, you would lead with commonalities. Hey, I saw that you were a TEDx speaker on this TEDx Federal Hill stage. I enjoyed your talk. Would you be interested in speaking for about 10 minutes to see how we can support each other, etc.? So now you have this bridge that can connect you to someone who would probably have otherwise ignored you, right? We've all been there before, cold outreach, trying to get our products and services and partnerships out there, but not really having the right bait, so to speak, and a dignified bait, of course, but not really having the right thing to attract the person to want to open our email or say yes in the first place. So it is a great bridge builder. TEDx is also a fabulous way to leverage strategic partnerships. So we're talking about thinking about your business, not just you being a solopreneur or you being an employee, but how do you now start to craft your business so it's not just local, but it's global, okay? This is a global platform. And as a global platform, it is important for me to share with you what organizers are looking for. What are they looking for? What do they want in a TEDx speaker? Well, I'm glad you asked. I am very glad you asked. Well, first of all, organizers, they're looking for speakers who have great ideas, okay? Great ideas. The slogan of TEDx is ideas worth sharing, all right? So they want you to have a multidisciplinary approach to ideas. They want you to have an idea that looks something like this. Either you are sharing something new, right? I always say, there are no new ideas under the sun, right? But there can be a new perspective, right? Because you are unique. So there's a unique perspective on an existing idea. You could be sharing something surprising, right? For example, there was a gentleman who took the old idea of gardening and put it in an urban context, right? That's an innovative perspective on an old idea. Gardening is as old as Adam and Eve, right? You can also use your talk to share an idea that challenges a belief. Um, so that is what actually Anae did, right? She challenged the belief of success being this linear path that you move up from, grade school into college and then into your career and everything's great. She challenged that belief in her TED Talk that we helped her craft. So it's a multitude of ways that you can share ideas. And when you apply for TEDx, they're looking for what your perspective is. We'll go into what they're not looking for, but they're also looking for speakers who have some experience, right? So if you are new and you've never given a professional talk before, you're going to either want to go and get some experience or get some training, okay? We don't want you to come there and this is the first time that you've ever spoken in person, right? Don't do that, right? Get some training, get some practice, and then apply, all right? So just as it's important for you to know what the organizers are looking for, it's also important to know what they're not looking for, all right? Surprise, surprise, they're not looking for salesmen or saleswomen, right? You cannot sell your products on the stage, okay? And again, they're not looking for amateurs, someone who's just getting started, because many organizers will actually take a look at your social, because they ask sometimes for you to submit your social media profiles and things like that. So they'll take a look to see what type of credibility you have. And if they don't see you, marketing or having something to say or no online presence, then believe it or not, you're not that attractive, because one of the aspects of TEDx is the organizers do this. They don't earn money from it, many of them. They don't, it's not a part of their business because they can't commingle their business dealings with TEDx. And so they're actually doing this because they want to raise their profile and their credibility as organizers. So they consider every person who speaks on their stage as a potential partner, as someone who's going to share the information, thus leading back to them as the organizer, someone who's going to continue to promote, hey, I've been on a TEDx stage and this was the organizer, right? So it raises their credibility. So when they're looking at each speaker as a potential partner, they're going to want to have some speakers on stage who are have a presence online in some capacity. Again, you don't have to have a tremendous social media following or be, posting every day, but does it help? Absolutely. Put yourself in the organizer's position. Do you want someone who, no one really knows or doesn't have at least a small influence with their immediate circle? Probably not. But do you want to have someone who's at least active, even if they don't have, a bunch of likes? These days, likes and follows are hard to find. Even big celebrities don't have that anymore. So, but you do want to have some type of presence. In addition, TEDx organizers are not, believe it or not, they are not looking for motivational speakers. I know. Some of you that hurts, right? Because you got this big speech. I'm gonna make you cry. I'm gonna make you get cracked open, and then I'm gonna hit you with some poetry. Yeah, that is great for some platforms, but unfortunately, TEDx isn't about the, sort of huge creativity when it comes to your talking and your speech. As you've seen, most TEDx talks are you're standing up and just delivering, stand and deliver. There are some exceptions to the rule where you can get a little bit more creative with your TED Talk, but 90% of the opportunities that you're going to apply to, they want to just see you as a professional speaker, okay? And not one that is, not that one that is like crazy motivational. Because sometimes, as you know, and that's why in the League of Experts, we really do, speaker training, because there's a difference between different types of speakers. There's motivational, inspirational, transformational. And so in TEDx, you want to combine those different types of speaking styles, but do it in a way that is not heavily dependent on one solely. For example, and I'm getting into, how to prepare your TEDx talk training, but we'll save that for another day. But I just want to share this with you. For example, so if you are predominantly an informational speaker, like I used to be a professor at a university at one point, and so I just gave information. Okay, here's what you do first, here's what you do second, step by step, you're going to get that from me. But over the years, I learned that it's not only important to give the information as it is as important to give anecdotal information as well. Oh, give me an example of who was impacted by the use of these steps that you're sharing. Give me an example of, someone who got a breakthrough as a result of the advice that you're sharing. So inside of a TEDx talk, now you're going to go to TEDx and you're going to watch talks, and you'll see this formula blended throughout the information. What is the topic? What is the idea you're sharing, right? What is the research, the empirical research behind those ideas? But also, the reason why those ideas matter is because they impact people. So that's where you'll find that the speaker is sharing their personal story, or they're sharing a story of someone else. But the anecdote, the anecdote does matter to add breadth and depth to the information that they're sharing. Okay, so that's just well, I think Hollis, you let me know in the chat. Tiffany, let me know if you guys want to have some conversation about how do you actually create a talk. So want to get accepted, I got an idea, but actually writing the talk out, like how do you do that? If you want that, type it in the chat. I'll check on both my platforms and you let me know, okay? You let me know. So now that we know what organizers are looking for and are not looking for, I want to give you some rules to follow, best practices, right? Understand that it is a conversation and not a commercial. It's not a commercial, right? You are there to serve. And how you're serving is by ensuring that how you deliver your talk, it's in a way that people can relate to. And you also are breaking down what could be a complex idea and making it simple, or it could be such a simple idea, but maybe people just, aren't that familiar with it or don't know it as intimately as you do. For example, if you're sharing a TED Talk about the importance of, maternal health in labor and delivery, right? 50% of the audience are males, right? So that may come easy to you. It's a simple topic, right? Women give birth, right? However, you don't want to take for granted that the simplicity of it to you is also simple for your audience. So the idea of it being conversational would allow you to make analogies and comparisons that open up the conversation for others to understand, right? The worst thing that you can do in giving a TED Talk is to have you think, because you may not have gotten support to develop your talk, you think that this is like the best thing and it makes sense to you. But then to have it be submitted to TED, it goes on their YouTube channel and you don't get any views outside of your friends and family, right? That could happen depending on what you title your talk, depending on, what your talk is about, depending on those different factors. And so the most important foundational knowledge you need to know is that you want to build your talk out so that it is interesting, right? It's interesting, but don't let it be so interesting that it's a me show, right? It's a commercial about me. This is my business. This is what I've done. This is how I've helped other people. This is why you should like me, know me, and trust me. It's not a me show, right? It's not a commercial. Also, you need to know that no bad science. No bad science. Now, I know I'm some of my experts here in the League of Experts community, you're into, metaphysical science, or some of you are researchers and, transformational science, neuro-linguistic programming, all of that, right? You've adopted that scientific backing in your business. However, TEDx is very clear. They give you a guideline that's like 2 pages full of like content as to what is acceptable and what is not, right? No bad science means that your scientific evidence that you use to support your talk, it must be backed by peer-reviewed research. It must be supported by bodies of researchers who are respected, right? And so this is critical because yes, you're going to want to include some empirical research inside of your talk. However, if you submit it and TEDx then says, hey, well, you mentioned, a study that was done that, brought 5 people in the lab and 7 people had, 5 people had this result and the others, whatever. So 5 people, yeah. So 3 people had the result and the other 2 had this result. If you give that type of evidence, they're going to want to know that you didn't get it from Chantel. Because I'm not a scientist, right? They're going to want to know that you got it from an organization that is tried, tested, and proven. And they will actually flag a talk. I've seen this happen. They will flag a talk that has some type of, unvalidated science and say, hey, we can't stand behind this. Your talk is not accepted. You showed up live, you gave your talk, and then you submitted it to us. But when we gave that final check, no, it doesn't meet our guidelines. And so you want to be very careful about rule number 2, making sure that there is no bad science in your talk. I also recommend insider secret is that you create, as you're building out your talk, you create a bibliography. So in the event that they flag your talk, you can actually just send it over because they'll say, hey, we saw this in your talk and you made this claim, right? Where's the research that supports this claim? They want to know, right? Their goal is to help you get on their platform. So if you don't have that in your bibliography, you'll have to now play catch up and go and find the information. So we say that while you're building out your talk, just go ahead and create a bibliography in the event that they ask for that information, okay? So no bad science, rule number 2. The third rule is unity and not division, okay? Remember, when I shared with you the idea, developing the idea, it was, talking about something totally new, having a perspective on an old idea, a new perspective on an old idea, or helping us to see something in a different light. So there are topics that are hot button topics that you may want to talk about, and it's totally fine. However, understand that if your topic is potentially polarizing, how do you still talk about a hot button topic without individuals feeling isolated, okay? Because TEDx want you to promote unity and not division. And that's essentially what we had to help Denise do in her talk about racism. She is a consultant who works with 500 Fortune 500 companies to help them with their diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she's passionate about dismantling systemic racism. I love it, right? However, we were very cautious in terms of making sure that even though she is holding one party accountable for, the wrongs that are done, and the other party accountable for being victims, that she did it in a way that was unifying, that was loving. And it required some work, right? Because if you know anything about Denise, she's, very passionate and very, hard-headed. However, how do you make it an inviting conversation so that even if I came on either of those sides, I didn't leave feeling, wronged or, condemned, right? But I instead left thinking about how I could consider the ideas that were presented, how I could maybe change my perspective because I came in not wanting to, but now after hearing it from a TEDx speaker, I'm enlightened and I see things a little differently, or I would like to learn more, right? That is the power of shaping a talk that creates unity and not division. Right, so I'm going to just pause for a second, and I am going to allow you to type in any questions that you may have, any comments, anything that stands out to you that you're like, okay, I need to implement this. Maybe, some of you are working on your talks right now. Others of you haven't yet done it because you're like, I need to come to this class before I even attempt it. Either way, let me know. Let me know in the chat, right? Awesome. So let's move right on to, so far we've covered, what TEDx organizers are looking for, what they're not looking for, also what it means to develop your idea. We talked about the rules, quote unquote rules, right? That you need to keep in mind when it comes to developing your talk. So now I want to unpack what some myths are, right? One of the myths that I've seen is that speakers wonder, okay, I see TEDx events are independently organized, and they're usually associated with a university or a city or a street. So do I have to be local to that particular TEDx event in order to speak? And the answer is no. You don't have to be local to that event in order to speak, okay? We've had many of our speakers, they have great ideas, but they're not necessarily local to the actual event where it's taking place, but they still get an opportunity to speak, right? The goal of the organizer is to get as many local and community thought leaders as they can, but sometimes there is room for individuals who are not within that particular region. Myth number 2, I have to know the organizer. No, you don't have to know the organizer of a TEDx stage in order to get selected. That's called nepotism, okay? You maybe work with the organization, right? You may know Molly and Chantel and say, hey, they know organizers and they can actually get me on the stage, right? So you may know a person who knows a person that could help shorten the learning curve for you to get on the stage. However, you personally don't have to know the organizer in order to be selected. Myth number 3, I can sell my products or services. No, remember the rule. You are not to be a commercial, but to have a conversation. And so no self-promotion, no product pushing on the TEDx platform, okay? Another myth, I have to speak for a long time. You don't. Actually, TEDx talks are 18 minutes or less, preferably 17 minutes or less, because you want to leave time for, the ums, maybe if you have those, you want to leave time for, the editor who's going to make your talk look beautiful and submit it to TEDx, to have some wiggle room when it comes to cutting in their post-production edits. So don't speak, when you're planning your talk, and we teach this in the League of Experts, make it less than 18 minutes. You don't want to be right on the buzzer, because if the editor needs to make some cuts, you don't want them to actually cut out anything important that you actually said, right? So speak for 18 minutes or less, but the sweet spot is anywhere from 10 to 17 minutes. I have to speak live, myth number 5. No, you don't have to be live in person. You can actually give your talk virtually. Did you know that? You can give your talk virtually, because really and truly, it's not about, showing up and giving your talk, right? That's part of the excitement. Whenever I give a TEDx talk, I personally like to speak live. However, you don't have to be live. You can, in fact, record it, professionally record it. Your organizer or whoever you're working with will give you the guidelines to do so. And you'll be able to still take advantage of being on the TEDx platform, because TEDx, the 36 million people are not going to be inside of the live in-person experience. They're going to be on the YouTube channel, right? So the most important thing is to make sure that you get a talk so that it can be on that on the virtual stage, on the platform, right? But of course, if you are able to make it in person, that's even sweeter for pictures and PR purposes, right? All right, so let's talk about what's next. I'm going to pause for a moment just to allow those of you who may have some questions to go ahead and type it in the chat. I see you participating. Listen, y'all are in the LOE group, the League of Experts group, lighting it up, and I appreciate that. Know that I see you, and I'm excited that you're getting so many breakthroughs. You're like, wow, myths broken, right? Myths debunked. Very, very cool. So as you are typing in your questions and your comments, I just want to share with you, and for our last few minutes here. Wow, I love the feedback. I've learned so much. Beautiful. Tiffany, you'll love this example, right? This is Karen. And Karen Let me make sure that you can see my screen. Yeah. So Karen, she founder of a multi-million-dollar business, beauty business. She actually never gave a talk in front of a large audience. Okay. She's more behind the scenes power player, right? How many of you are more behind the scenes? You've never actually put yourself out there before in this way. Well, you're like Karen. She was nervous, right, to actually show up live, but she knew she wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to have some thought leadership in her industry. And so she landed her first TEDx talk, but she decided to do it virtually. I'll tell you a secret. Because of her nerves and her comfort level, she gave her talk virtually, and she was able to benefit from the use of a teleprompter, right? Because not every live experience is going to give you access to a teleprompter. So one of the benefits of doing it virtually is that you will have the ability, depending on your videographer, but you can request to have a teleprompter where you're reading off notes from the screen, as opposed to having to remember all of your notes, like if you were to do it live. Okay. So last myth that many people have thought is that I have to be well known. Well, I think by now you know that you don't have to be well known. You just have to have a really great idea and to take advantage of everything that I shared with you. Making sure that you present your talk as being one of unification and not division. Making sure that you are building a talk that isn't surrounded by a compelling idea. And when you have that, even if you don't have a large following, but you submit all of what you have to the organizers, listen, they don't care if you're not well known. That's what TEDx is about. So have those things that I mentioned throughout this time together, this training, and listen, you're going to put yourself at the top of the pool, right? And I look forward to receiving your testimonies because I believe that you're next. I believe that you are next. And so you have everything that you need to succeed, right? There are some things that we'll continue to talk about, right? I saw in the chat that y'all have said, hey, I want to know how to write my talk, right? I can go and apply, but I want to know how to create my talk. And so we'll have some trainings regarding that as well. If you're watching this on replay, let me know. Are you just at the stage where like, I need to come up with an idea, right? Got so many ideas, I need to pick the one. I got you. Type it in the chat, let me know, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction with that. If you're like, well, I got the idea, I need to develop the talk. That's what we're here for. That's what the League of Experts is here for, right? So whatever part of the spectrum you're on, let me know. And I look forward to continuing to support you because we believe that great people should get noticed. And you are certainly one of them. All right. So I'm signing off for right now, but I will see you. I'll see you again in the next training. Y'all take care for now. Bye-bye.